Your next professor might not be human. In fact, they might just be a bunch of code in a box. At the Technical University of Denmark, they had a problem: too many students, and not enough professors to go around. The solution? Fire up the servers and let the AI take the wheel. Meet ChatGMP. This wasn't just a chatbot, this was a high-stakes experiment to see if a machine could actually handle the pressure of a master's-level course. The skeptics were ready, the professors were nervous, and the students, well, they were about to get a shock. The results are in, and they are not what you'd expect. Is this the end of the professor as we know it? Is this the end of the professor as we know it? Let's dive into the data. Here is what happened when the robots took over the classroom.
You hear it all the time, right? AI is going to completely change education. But what actually happens when you take that idea out of the headlines and put an AI in charge of a real university course? Well, today we're diving into a fascinating experiment that did exactly that. And let me tell you, the results were not what you might expect. So this is the big question, the one that's got everybody talking. Could a piece of software actually take the place of your professor? This experiment didn't just speculate about it. It went out and tried to find a real practical answer. And our story starts not with some futuristic sci-fi vision, but with a super common problem. At the Technical University of Denmark, they had this great master's course, and it was just too popular. It was capped at 120 students, but way more wanted in. They were literally turning away eager students. So, you've got this amazing course that you can't scale up. What's the holdup? Well, it all came down to this one single, incredibly important, and incredibly time-consuming exercise. Okay, so the heart of this course was a mock audit. Students would get into groups and interview a fake company to try and find problems. And who played the role of the company? The teachers. Now, this was fantastic for learning, but for the faculty, oh man, it was a massive, repetitive time suck. It physically limited how many student groups they could handle. And that's when the researchers had a light bulb moment. What if they could just automate the repetitive part? So they built a custom AI assistant they called ChatGMP. The idea was simple. The AI would play the role of the company, and students could interview it. This would free up the professors and hopefully let more students into the course. Now, listen, this wasn't just some off-the-shelf chatbot. They used a really smart technique called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. Think of it like this. They put the AI in a library that only had the course documents and nothing else. It couldn't just go browse the whole internet. And this is absolutely crucial because it massively reduces the risk of the AI just making stuff up or hallucinating. They deliberately chose a smaller, safer model to make sure the answers were right, even if it wasn't the most talkative AI. All right, so the AI is built. The safety rails are up. Now for the moment of truth. It was time to put ChatGPT in front of real students. The first trials ran in 2024 and 2025, and right off the bat, things were looking pretty good. Using the AI was totally optional, so why did some students go for it? Well, the reasons are pretty fascinating. Of course, a lot of them were just curious. But get this, a bunch of them said they felt less stressed out interviewing a chatbot than a real professor, which, kind of makes sense. Others just wanted to help make the tool better for future classes, and some just liked getting a clean text transcript. And the results? They were really promising. You can see that student satisfaction actually went up over time. In 2025, the number of students who rated the AI a perfect 5 for very happy actually grew. The tool was getting better, and the students could feel it. And this is a wild stat. Their confidence in the AI just skyrocketed. When they were asked if this AI was the future of the exercise, the yes vote jumped from less than half to a whopping 78% in just 1 year. It really seemed like this AI was a clear winner. But to be sure, the researchers knew they had to turn up the difficulty. Okay, so the AI passed the test with beginners, but how would it do against a much tougher crowd? The researchers designed a new experiment to see how the AI would handle students who were, well, a lot more critical. So they set up what's called a crossover study. They brought in a new group of students from a more professional program, and these students had to audit both the AI and a human teacher and then compare them head to head. This was the ultimate stress test. And the feedback from these two groups? Whoa, it couldn't have been more different. It was like night and day. The regular students who were new to all this thought the AI was cool and helpful, but the crossover students, these guys had actual real-world experience, and they came in with much higher expectations. Their verdict was a total 180. I mean, just look at this data. It's pretty brutal. On a scale of 1 to 5, the human teacher is getting rave reviews, while the AI scores are all clustered way down at the bottom. The experienced students just felt the AI's answers were too generic, that they lacked nuance. They could see the seams, and they were not impressed. The preference was just overwhelming. When they were asked directly, a full 2/3 of these experienced students said, "Yep, I prefer the human teacher." Not a single one of them preferred the chatbot outright. So, what happened? Why was the AI a hit with one group and a dud with another? This is where the story gets really interesting. See, those conflicting results weren't a failure, not at all. They actually revealed a huge, fundamental challenge in building AI for education and taught some incredibly important lessons. It all boils down to this one core trade-off: safety versus power. Remember, the researchers intentionally picked a smaller, safer AI to make sure it was accurate. That was fine for beginners, but the experienced students, they're used to the smooth conversational style of big AIs like ChatGPT. To them, the safe model just felt clunky and limited. The researchers were caught in a bind between being correct and meeting expectations. And that's the thing. Those expectations are a moving target. In the short time between the first trial and this crossover study, public AI tools had gotten so much better. The bar had been raised for everyone. A tool that felt innovative one year can feel totally outdated the next. But here's the cool part. Out of all that criticism came the single biggest aha moment of the whole experiment. One student wrote this: "I think using the two oddities together actually complement each other well." They realized it wasn't a competition. The human gives you nuance, and the AI gives you speed. It wasn't about replacement, it was about teamwork. Okay, so after all of that, the trials, the conflicting feedback, the unexpected insights, what's the final verdict? Let's go back to our original question. Can an AI actually teach a university course? This scorecard really says it all, doesn't it? The human teacher is the champion of nuance and realism. The AI assistant is a powerhouse of speed and consistency. They have totally different and totally complementary skills. One isn't better than the other. There are just different tools for different jobs. So what are the big takeaways here? First, AI can automate the grunt work to free up professors. Second, it can genuinely lower student stress, which is a huge and maybe unexpected bonus. Third, building these things means making a tough choice between safety and power. And finally, the most important lesson: AI is not a teacher replacement. It's a specialized tool in the teacher's toolkit. You know, the experiment started by asking if an AI could replace a professor, but it ended by discovering something way more exciting: that AI can handle the repetitive stuff, so professors can focus on what they do best: mentoring, inspiring, and providing that deep human context. And that leaves us with this final thought. As we keep building AI for the classroom, maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe the goal was never to build a replacement teacher, but to build the ultimate teaching assistant, one that helps both the students and the educators have a much richer experience. What do you think?